Hi, this is Brian Birch with the Snow and Ice Management Association here at the 15th Annual Snow and Ice Symposium. I'm here with John Dolce with Wendell Duchère Companies. He's their fleet manager. They're an architectural firm, and he is the sort of fleet management liaison between the architects and the engineers, correct? John, thank you for being here.
Brian, thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Now, John is a well-known expert in fleet management, and he's here today to kind of share some insight he has about managing fleets and some of the business of doing that. So I know you're doing a session today on the trade show floor. Why don't you give us a few, 2 or 3 points that you'd like to share with the group today?
That'd be great, Brian. Thank you. Pretty much what we're going to talk about today is the cost to repair, cost to rebuild, cost to replace, cost to scrap, cost to cannibalize for a piece of equipment. Anything from a lawnmower up to a crane, including trucks and accessories, any kind of a fleet vehicle. Generally speaking, the industry standard is when the cumulative maintenance of a piece of equipment approaches the full purchase price, it's time to make a decision to repair, rebuild, replace, etc. It's not complicated. What we look at is the reliability factor. You can keep pouring money into a piece of equipment forever and ever and ever, and you just don't get the reliability out of that. So the cost of the cure versus the cost of the disease is what we're going to discuss today.
Okay, great. And that was interesting. You said when the cost to replace is basically comparable to buying it. Cost to repair is the same as replacing it. How do you track that information at a fleet level? It seems like it'd be sort of challenging to keep track of all that information. Do you have any 1 or 2 points related to that?
Excellent point, Brian. That's very important, what you just mentioned. Repairing a vehicle is usually done in-house on a work order or outside through an invoice, through a vendor. And what we look at, that document is a legal document. And what we have to do is put all of the repairs on that, the cost of parts, the cost of labor, and any birth certificate information. Then we collect that in the management information system, or you can do it manually. And the key point that we're going to look at is when you have spent 100% of the purchase price in maintenance and parts and labor maintenance of a piece of equipment, it's too late. What we have to do is before that, and I look at 30% of the residual value. If a piece of equipment is $100,000 brandy spanking new, after 10 years it's worth about $10,000. If you're going to spend more than $5,000 of the residual value in maintenance, that's the time to give yourself time to either get the capital money or get the operating money to rebuild that piece of equipment. Because the next year you're going to spend pretty close to 100% of its residual value, and then the year after that you're going to spend 350% of its residual value. Oh, and wow. It's too late. Yeah. Once you sink that money into a piece of equipment, now you're bound to live with this thing. And all you're going to do is live with acute misery. And so the thought is, with anticipating your time, use 30% as a marker, and we'll show numbers in order to get that information. And you really don't need a computer to do this. You look at the residual value, and there's a finance formula that you go through that's real simple. Sure. And or you look at what the industry will pay for it. And when nobody's buying new trucks, the cost of an old piece of equipment goes up. When people are buying lots of trucks, the cost of the equipment is going down.
It sounds like sort of what you're advocating is there's certain situations where you should look at new versus used. Do you have a philosophy on buying used equipment versus brand new?
Used equipment is an alternative that you should consider, Brian. That's a good point. If you get a company that's going out of business or a company that's changing their work methods and whatnot, they might have some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old vehicles that's still got a lot of life in them. The key is to see if they've been maintained. So you look at their records, you look at the vehicle, and that's a possible decent buy. Generally speaking, in a neutral environment, a piece of equipment that's brand new loses 30% of its value when you buy it and bring it into your shop. So you buy a $100,000 piece. Before you put your license plates, decal, and fire extinguisher and get it ready to go to work, it's worth $70K. Wow. At the end of the first year, it goes down another 20%. So now it's worth about $55,000. That's the beginning of the second year. If you can find a company that's changed their work methods and doesn't need the configured vehicles that they have or the configured equipment that they have, your point is well taken, Brian. You can capitalize on that depreciation, but yet you don't want to buy a piece of equipment that's beyond 30% of its residual value as far as the maintenance is concerned. So that's where you need your technician in order to check out that piece of equipment and do an autopsy on it. Take a look at it, see what's going on, you know, get an operator who would operate that piece of equipment, like if it's yellow iron, it's a loader, a lift, a forklift, or something like that. You want your operator to get in and get an opinion. The most important people in our business are the people that do the hands-on work.
Well, John, thank you so much for talking with us. One last question. For someone who wants to really learn more about fleet management and get educated, get better at it, do you have any advice for them, 2 or 3 things that they might consider doing?
Good point, Brian. Fleet management, self-education, pretty much. You would start by going to your association, SIMA. You would also, I teach seminars in fleet management at the University of Wisconsin, in Milwaukee and also Madison. And there are other schools that have seminars on fleet management. There are fleet associations that are mostly marketing and sales kinds of things, but they're a good place to go to get some education. And in the fleet environment, profession, there's a certification program, and there are a half a dozen organizations, mostly like SIMA, that are fleet specific, that offer certification where you could take exams and get certified, something like a CPA or something like that. And they're available also, and that's a learning environment. As everybody knows, OJT, on the job, you know, hard knocks, not making the same mistake 3 times, is basically the education in the fleet profession.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, John, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and I'm sure the folks watching the video do as well.